this to make it 7 goals. Right, no problems with the journey. The goal umpire hasn't even moved. The goal umpire did not even move.
7 straight. My boy, the split system.
Big game. And I'd like to jump in there. I called it. Well, I called 5 and that we'd win. I'd call the Peter kick 5 and we'd win. He went on to kick 7.
So
probably should have kicked 8, really. That last shot, I thought he was going to get it, actually, to be honest.
What I'm hearing is you didn't call it because he got 7, not 5.
That's harsh.
That is harsh, but fair. I think the viewers will agree. Huge win for the club. Huge day for the split system. I'm glad to see that's catching on just a little bit.
Who else is saying it?
I've seen at least one person calling the splitty, which I'll take credit for.
Okay, there you go.
7 goals straight. Just a massive, massive day for him, for Peter. Personally, obviously his biggest bag. AFL career.
How do you reckon Gold Coast are feeling right now?
Geez, could do with
even taking away that game, he hasn't been bad all year. Like, he's been a handy tall forward / backup ruckman.
What you'd say,
and Gold Coast do not have a ruckman at the moment.
They would have killed for a ruckman. Yeah,
they would have killed. They probably would have run him into the ground playing in the ruck for the year.
But before yesterday, you could say he's been serviceable because he's been able to kick goals, at least a goal a game, and also ruck.
He'd kicked around 20 goals before that game, and he was leading the competition, or about third in the competition, as backup ruckman for hit-outs. We had that stat the other day.
So you'd say serviceable. For him to go and get a bag, and I think we'll stick to our structure where we talk about our individuals a bit later. But yes, the Dogs' defence was undermanned. I thought Shaki was actually on top of him early.
Very much so.
He didn't kick a goal until later in the second quarter, I don't think.
About mid, I reckon, second quarter.
So, interesting one. All right, let's talk about the game first because, like I said, a bit of structure.
Get into it.
Bit of structure is good. I thought first quarter we were pretty lucky, maybe, to be in touch on the scoreboard. I thought
they felt like
pressure.
90% of the play in their 54 to 50. It just felt like it lived in there for the first 15 minutes.
Good pressure from us, but they did, like you say, they had the ball there a lot. And didn't convert, which bad kicking, bad football, that's
right.
Still a thing. But after that, geez, we were good. I watched the replay this morning. First replay I've watched all year. You can tell I liked that game.
Also that you're not working this morning too.
Also that I'm not working today, that does help. I want to talk about a few things here. I did my own stats yesterday because I get frustrated when I can't find stats that I want to find. Now, I want to just preface this a little bit with I got nervous towards the end and probably didn't get full accuracy for the last 5 minutes because I was...
Totally understandable. I was very nervous when I think Bontempelli kicked that goal from a free kick.
We'll talk about that. So I'm not claiming these to be 100% accurate.
Yeah.
I took goal sources, and I'm not really sure what the technical goal source stats are, so I kind of made my own up, but you'll still get a feel for what I'm talking about. I'm not claiming 100% accuracy here. All right.
Gotcha. Disclaimer done.
Biggest thing I wanted to look at was goal source. How do we score our goals? How do we concede our goals? Because that's a stat for me that really says a lot about our turnovers in particular. That was my feeling before the game, and I wasn't really sure how we were generating our scores. We kicked 6 from centre bounce clearances. And watching the replay this morning, I watched the replay this morning because one area I felt like we really got on top on was that, but repeat centre clearances. So in the second quarter, we got 3 in a row once. Third quarter, we got 3 in a row. Fourth quarter, we got 5 in a row from centre bounce clearances.
And that was a good
And so often we were able to do that. I think every single quarter, even, the Dogs kicked one early. We got the centre bounce clearance and kicked a goal straight away down the other end, which is really good. 6 from the centre bounce. That's massive. We've kicked 12. We got half of our goals from... No, sorry, we kicked 12 goals, set shots. Apologies.
Okay.
We've kicked 15 for the day, so it's still a high percentage of them coming from the middle. We got 4 on the rebound from defensive 50.
Mm-hmm.
And we got 3 from forward 50 stoppages. One of those was a ruck free kick. So, again, I'm not quite sure how that fits into the stats. The other 2 came from indirect turnovers or just, a dog's kick down the line where we spoiled it, we got the ball back and got it, or just a general stoppage around the ground. We'll talk about our good first, so I'll leave it at that. That's massive. To be generating such high scores from our midfielders.
It's been a massive turnaround from the last 3 weeks where we've had scores of 57 against GWS. We had a decent score against North Melbourne, a 90-odd, and then an 84 against... but there was a period there where we just looked like we couldn't score very well.
Yes, and it has... This turnaround of scoring has coincided with Hooker going out of the side and having a bit more of an agile forward line. Pete is not agile really, but he's decent enough on the ground for his size. Francis can take a mark and make the contest. We'll get to.
You'd be hard pressed to say Francis didn't play a role.
Yeah, absolutely did. Yep. So that was something I really wanted to look at, and I'm really glad I did.
Yep.
So we got on top of centre stoppages. I also was taking
against the best midfield.
Well, against a very deep midfield, and honestly, Bontempelli's on another planet.
Bontempelli, McRae, Trelaw was back. They got Smith. They got Hunter.
But
they got Dunkley. Their list goes deep in the midfield. Like then there's Liberatore. I don't know if it's Liberatore. Seriously, that is a class midfield for us to beat them in the clearances, like you're saying.
And it wasn't like they had an off day. McRae had 38, Bont had 34, and as I said, he's on another level.
Bont probably could have still got the Brownlow votes in the game. Like, seriously.
My respect for Bontempelli grew out of sight.
No doubt he's a great player. He falls into the Protected Species Act. But,
or not as much as others, but again, we will get to that a little bit more.
But anyway.
Another thing I did was write down some quarter-by-quarter stats, because you can look at the end of the game stats, but you don't really get an idea of where we might have turned things around.
You're setting a very high bar for yourself here, buddy.
Yeah, I won't do this every week, I promise.
What about the losses? I'd love to see.
Yeah, and my handwriting's actually another issue, because I've just gone to make a point, and I can't tell if that's a 4 or a 9.
We don't write that much more anymore with our hands. Typing in the world.
Yeah, handwritten too. So we were down early on contested possession.
Yeah, we were negative 20.
Commentary made a point, I think, in the second quarter when we got back on top a little bit. You don't need to beat the Dogs at contested ball. You just need to equalise, sort of, with them. Yep. So it's either 34 or 39 to 25. I think it's a 4. So we're going to go with that. So we might have evened that up a bit, but early on especially we were getting a bit smacked.
In the first quarter we were minus 20. I heard them say that.
Yep. It ended up being 126 to 109. So we ended up 15 down across the game. So we did that. We equalised.
For the rest of the game we equalised
them at that part of the game. Pleasing to see that, because we keep talking about this, we get beaten by what we know.
Yep.
And we were able to turn it around. And
it's a sign of a mature team, I think,
and a good coach.
The way we played in that first quarter, which I think we'd all agree was worrying. Like, I was halfway through that first quarter, I was like, this is going to be Dogs by how far, really?
Yeah, I actually said Dogs by 10 goals at quarter time.
Yep.
So.
Yep. But to even then break it even at halftime, I thought, gee, that's all we're asking for. If we can hang around. But then the third quarter, we clearly outplayed them in the third quarter and parts of the fourth quarter. They were swinging everything at us. They were giving us...
Until they really were chasing the game late on, we were all over them. They didn't really get any sort of look at scoring until they had to throw everything, which when you get a good side throwing the kitchen sink...
Yep.
Fair enough.
We still held off to win by nearly 2 goals.
We won clearances quite comfortably, 47 to 31. That's
I've got to talk about Draper.
We'll get to the individuals.
Best on ground for me.
Harsh. Tackles are something else I was keeping an eye on. 54 to 37, so 54 is quite a lot up on what we've been in the previous little bit.
Oh, can we talk about tackles?
We can talk about. I'm talking about tackles. Go your hardest.
We might have tackled a lot, but a lot of times, there's a couple of negatives for me when we get to that.
Yep.
One of them is tackling.
Yep.
We need to find a way to work out how to tackle. The number of times their players pushed through a tackle, broke through a tackle, or just stepped around a player really embarrassed. Like, I reckon that Bailey Dale, he does not take first option. Every time he faked to go left and went right,
and there are a couple of times as well where we just overcommitted a little bit with the tackle, or even the spoil.
Stringer did it a couple of times on the wing with Hunter and Bontempelli. He just overcommitted.
They got the easy kick inside 50 rather than kicking over the man.
He just had to try and corral, just get to him, put your hands up and just try and put a bit of pressure on where he's kicking. But he came in hard or hot, and the player just sort of went around him and he fell over.
Good thing about this is that we still had, how many did I say? 54 tackles for the game. So that's around our average. I think our average is around 60. So that's good. Snelling only had the 12 touches, but had 10 tackles.
That's excellent.
Love it. Gleeson and Stringer both had 6 apiece. Clark 4, Merritt 4. So Merritt winning the ball and making the tackles as well.
Question, Tippin?
No, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Devon Smith as well, 3 tackles. So that's
Smith was good.
Good up on his numbers. I like that. I think we also played the Dogs really well. And again, I go back to that statement about getting beaten by what we know.
Mm-hmm.
Props to whoever said that in our comments. I've flogged that a lot. We know the Dogs handball a lot. And we were able to cover that spread reasonably well. And there was one passage of play. I think Bailey Dale was on the ground with the ball at half forward.
Mm.
And rather than go and put pressure on him, all of our guys seemed to just go and mark their handball targets.
Yep.
Which, not ideal. You probably still want to put pressure on the guy with the ball.
Didn't look great because he just sort of got to flop around on the ground and pick a handball option.
But it does show that maybe we were kind of a bit more aware that we can't let the Dogs just handball all day.
Yep. So,
although in isolation it's probably not a good look, I think it said a lot about what we were trying to do. That's just me. Inside 50s, they had a lot more than us, 60 to 39, but it was 22 scoring shots to 24, so we were very efficient going inside. They weren't. Make of that what you will.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, the set shots. We kicked 12 goals, 2 from our set shots. Thanks, Pete. 6 of his 7 were from set shots. And the Dogs kicked 8 goals, 9. And some pretty easy ones for guys like Josh Bruce. Norton took a couple of good marks. And
there were moments in the first quarter and in the third quarter, I reckon they hit the post.
Late in the third quarter, we were bloody lucky not to concede. And then we went down the other end and fumbled a chance to kick a goal ourselves.
I think it was Clark or Guelph or one of those.
Guelph, yeah.
That a moment there when Redmond, Redmond took the 2 kickouts with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, and both times just chipped these nothing kicks to the pocket, like right on the boundary line. I can't handle that. I'm like,
you've got all that room.
You've been given 15 minutes extra, 15 meters extra. It's 3 minutes to go. Get the ball to the wing down on the
as far as you can and get a stop.
Try and get it spoiled out of the boundary and start a contest down there. Not start a contest 10 meters away from the goal square. Seriously, it's just dumb football at that moment, and that'll cost us games. Those little brain fades where run, kick. There's got to be somebody tall down there standing there going, kick it to me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you should be set up with your Draper or your right around that area.
Even if I don't care if it's just bloody Tip and Woody, get it down there.
We talked about it last week, those little moments that cost us. That's one of them. And I think we do that a lot where it's a pretty simple thing to me. I'm not obviously doing anything with football, but if you haven't got a good target inside 50, I think Melbourne do this really well. Is they kick it to the boundary and they'll get that stoppage.
Yeah,
and we kicked.
It's a much easier ball to defend too because you've got players around and it's 2 kicks back home.
You keep it in your forward line. We kicked 10 of our 15 goals from stoppages.
Yeah.
So obviously that's a strength. So yeah, you can do a little bit of that. But you're right. Coming out of defence, you've got 15 metres to run. And then you can kick another 50, 55. All of a sudden, the ball's 70 metres away from goal, and you create a 50-50.
It's 2 kicks from home. It has to. They have to. At least you've got a chance now to defend.
Yeah.
Whereas when you kick it 10 meters away, then that guy's stuck on the wing, and he can only kick it down the line, and they don't get a good purchase on it, or I don't know. It just frustrates me.
It is frustrating, and you're right. It's those little things that will stop us from becoming a good team.
If the Dogs had been more accurate in front of goal in that third quarter, they could have been up by 3 goals coming into the last quarter, which may have been a different game.
But that being said, they didn't, and we took our chances again. We kicked 15 goals 7 after kicking 15-6 or 16-6 last week.
We've kicked the last 2 weeks
goals
we've been
in the
quite
last
up,
2 weeks.
Yeah.
And again, don't want to say it's all Hooker's fault. It's a bit of a correlation there because maybe the ball is getting marked a bit more. Maybe the ball's getting a bit more pressure on the defenders if the ball hits the ground.
Maybe it's just the defensive teams we played. Like the Doggies, as I said on the preview, that I don't rate them overly from a defensive. I think that's their weakness.
And I'm sure they would have liked Alex Keith out there.
Yep. That they've got a weakness, it's defence. And Sydney... Well, I wouldn't say their weakness is defence, but anyway.
I think Sydney are high scoring, so you probably get them a bit going the other way.
Yep.
Because they move the ball so well going forward. A couple of other things I just want to touch on. One is I'm so sick of rule of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Not 15. Credit to the umpires; they were consistent with our game. I have full respect to that.
Yeah.
But you bet your bottom dollar next week it's not going to be a thing. And we're going to sit there and get frustrated because Gold Coast next week we play. They'll get a goal from a kick that goes 10 metres. And that's when it becomes frustrating. So now you've set your precedent, umpires. Stick with it. Players will adapt. Don't just make it a thing for 1 week. If you're listening. To further your point on tackles, we had 21 missed tackles for the day to... early on in the last quarter. The commentary mentioned that wasn't something I've kept a look at.
Yep.
Which is, as you say, disappointing. I did start a stat on how many times Merrick kicked it to a target inside 50, but he only got 2. But he did one very early on, and it was a delightful kick.
As opposed to Shield.
As opposed to Shield.
Butchered the ball, kicked a couple of... And what frustrated me about that was the 2 kicks I can picture. He was clear. There was one where he'd taken a mark and he kicked it to Snelling, just off a couple of steps, hit that target, no worries. But I reckon there was 3 where he was running in on his left side, no pressure, and just the ball floated off the boot. Like it just didn't spin at all properly.
There was some
and you're
awful
like,
kicks.
Come on, mate. You've got to...
Where he got absolute silver service from Draper or a handball from the clearance and, just absolutely butchered it.
And I see he's still only playing like 60, sort of 3% game time, so they're still nursing him through games. He's still nearly our lowest. Was he the lowest? Besides the guys that actually didn't come on. Alec Waterman and him, 69 and 66% game time. So that's interesting.
That's okay.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. That's okay. I think that's maybe just a little bit of an eye to if we sneak into the 8, then we're building him towards being full match fitness. Around that time, we may not still make the 8. That's fine.
We're not worried about that. We've beaten the top team. Our season is going well. We're playing good footy. We look like a team that could, in the next few years, compete.
Yeah. For the year, we've beaten the teams around us, generally speaking, and now we've beaten 2 teams inside the top 8. One of them top of the ladder, late in the year. So that's not like we're just
it's not like
fudging a stat from early in the season.
No, and they're coming off beating Adelaide by 50-odd points. They beat Melbourne the week before that by 20 points, and they beat the Suns, which I would rate them as playing some pretty decent footy at the moment. So
week by week for them.
Yeah, they've beaten. They're the top team. They're
a bloody good side.
15 games for the year.
As we said, Bontempelli is the best player in the competition right now, and looked every bit of that yesterday.
Yeah. So.
I don't have a man crush on Bontempelli, I promise. All right. Let's get on to some individuals.
Yep.
We're going to start with the really obvious, really obvious one.
Oh God!
And that is
Draper?
split system.
Oh,
can you not? The guy kicked 7 goals. What do you mean, Draper? We'll get to him.
I just saw Draper. Look, I respect the 7 goals and they were brilliant. But Draper, just for a guy that's played 18 games.
All right, let's talk about Draper first because you've moved it on to him.
Yeah, because you can't not talk about obviously but kicking 7 goals, it's great and I love it.
Just pick one. Pick one and let's talk about him.
Sammy Draper.
All right, Drapes. 39 hit-outs. English had 24. Peter Wright also had 9. Next best for Josh Bruce. For the Dogs, was Josh Bruce with 2.
Yep.
While we're on Josh Bruce, fucking sucks.
Well, it sounds like he did his knee in the last contest.
Awful.
Like in a pointless little contest.
Yeah.
Like just a little tackle. Yeah, that's.
You want to beat your opposition on the day, but that's bloody awful.
That's awful. Sucks.
Yes, Sammy Draper. So
Sammy Draper, what impressed me most?
Can I just run through his stats?
Go.
Finish. Sorry. 39 hit-outs, 4 clearances, a tackle, a goal.
He kicked a goal,
11
Sammy.
touches. He did, big Sammy. All right, go. Stage is yours.
What impressed me most? He's played 18 games. He's pretty still naive in the his football world. Well, as you know, he's not a kid that played football from under 12s all the way through draft. Yep. Hasn't come that traditional route. He really impresses me in a few things. Athleticism. There's a couple of times he ran after midfielders and he had them hunted. Like they were oh shit, he's on my back. I've got to get rid of it. Like he is not slow. His tap work. Some of those ones down the throat to Stringer and shit were just like
that one.
We haven't had that for a long time. A ruckman that just down the throat service.
The one to Parrish where Parrish kicked a lovely goal, and the goal was brilliant, but it was almost more about the
contest around him and just boom out to Parrish.
Yeah.
Then the third thing I mentioned too on that is that the other thing I loved is when he came up against the non number one ruckman in English, like if he came up,
he abused them.
Yeah, he just went. Pooh! And like there was that one where it was about like the 50 where he just took it out of pushed him away, took it and kicked it. Like, and there was
headed it to himself and kicked a goal.
Yeah. So, like, I really love that. And the fourth thing is just his aggression and his body work. Like he shepherds with. There was one point where he just Smith for them had missed the ball and he just shoved him out of the way, and I just love that. Like it's been a while since I've seen a ruckman that I reckon. Give him 100 games of football, all Australian, I'm calling it.
Well, it is interesting that I want to talk about a few things on the back of that then before we talk about right. The AFL put up a post yesterday on their Facebook and maybe some other platforms around who is going to put your caps on and tell us who's going to be the best forward defender, ruckman in 5 years' time. And the photo they used was a big Sammy Draper.
Well, the other one I reckon is going to be a great ruckman is that Sean Darcy from.
Oh, him, actually, he's a good one.
Yeah, he's
and
got everything.
Jackson from Melbourne as well is quite good, and a good, he's got a good teacher.
Yeah, so but there are a few out there, but no.
Bit of recognition there for Draper being used as that photo sort of suggests, the AFL looking at him going.
The thing that stood out too with Draper is that he rucked late into the game and rucked well.
Yep.
Which I haven't seen. For most of the other games, he hasn't rucked as late. Like it's usually Wright comes in and covers a lot from you in that last quarter.
And we see Cox and a few others.
Or even
there.
Langford's done a little bit of it too.
Yeah.
So that must be a sign that he's just getting that as the season progressing, get a few more games under the belt.
Fitter.
On that, or they're getting the confidence in him, whichever one it is. It's great. Anyway, I'm finished.
He's playing the footy, which is fantastic. I like to see the other stuff as well. I put on the page yesterday, Guelphy had a nice little message on his wrist strapping that just said fun. Mm-hmm. I love that. And to me, Draper is the embodiment of that. He's in the song. The mask ended up round his eyeballs. He's just an absolute
He's a character.
And you love it.
You love that. You love that at clubs. You love guys that are out on the field giving it everything, and then they're the character in the change room. They're the larrikin. They're all that sort of stuff. Yeah. It's been out. History has shown that the great players, the players I've loved the most, the Van der Haars before your time, and the Billy Duckworths and the Merv Nagels and all these sort of guys way back in the 80s, they were absolute characters off the field. So that's what I love. It
does a few things. It keeps the group together. It makes the club fun to be at.
Yeah, which is really important at a day-to-day. The grind can happen.
Yeah, and, we've had Merritt on a 6-year deal. If that dressing room isn't a good place to be, winning or losing...
Exactly.
You're not going to get those players sign on. Big props.
Really great player. Really important player.
To Big Sammy. Now, I want to talk about Peter Wright because
You go. I'll give it to you, Sam. I'll just walk away. Go.
My favourite players...
Keep your pants on.
Too late. My favourite players are... Well, my first favourite player was Scott Lucas. Love a bloke that can just wheel around and kick 55 metres. Just love it.
On his left. On the left.
My next favourite player was Joe Danaher, which still brings me to tears a little bit. My point is here, I love big forwards. And what we got with Joe was a great big forward, but not an overly reliable set shot, which has now evolved me into loving any forward across the competition, any forward that can kick a set shot. You are high up in my books. Peter Wright, take a bow. 7 goals, 6 of them from set shots, and at least 3 of them, I think, were on an angle and outside 50.
He kicked 7-1, didn't he?
No, 7 straight. 7 goals, 0, because that last shot didn't register.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, didn't. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, yeah.
Technicalities. Now,
no, you're...
Oh my God. Just the last 2 he kicked. He kicked one from about 55 out on an angle near... Well, on the
pocket
broadcast side.
Yep.
Lovely. Oh, just beautiful. It's just the way it goes through the air, and it's a tough kick. And if he misses that, I don't batter an eyelid. I don't even think about it. I go to him, fair enough, you took the shot, you took the responsibility, you didn't kick it.
I like that about him too.
On.
He goes back and has the shot, like he just says, no, I got it, boys. And I think the players around him are starting to realise
just go, yep, yours, Pete.
Yep, everyone, yep, no one really, just go back, take your time, Pete.
He's quite clearly the best set shot at the club, so give it to him.
Langford. It's still Langford.
Langers is okay, doesn't get the volume of shots though.
Langford hasn't got the leg.
Oh, the leg. We go back to the middle, we win the ball. Guess who gets it? Peter Wright from 50 out.
Stop there. Guess who did the ruck tap out?
Oh, it was obviously Draper. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. That was Peter Wright. Ruck that contest.
No, he can't have because he took the mark.
Yep. He did. Go back and watch the vision, Sam. He did the ruck tap out, went forward and got that mark.
Okay, I'm going to have to rewatch that, but...
that's what was impressive there.
Take that for what it is. Anyway, then has the set shot from 50 out, fairly straight in front. Goal umpire, as you heard at the start, did not move a muscle. It is just glorious when the goal umpire doesn't even.
And that's 55, and it's gone. Like they didn't even
went into the crowd.
Well, like they didn't even try to spoil it. Like it was like, no, that's gone.
Just a beautiful thing to watch. A forward.
All the players got around
like
him,
that.
and they're all up and about.
And that's the other thing.
We're going to win this, boys.
Back on that fun thing, they all got around him. They all loved him and loved it for him. I saw a couple of times throughout the game, him and Francis were just chatting and having a laugh, but talking about what they were doing and redhead things. It's a nice bit of cohesion there. They kicked 9 goals between them. Sorry, Frango, you only kicked 2 of them. That's all right.
That doesn't matter. That's still 9.
And our forward line looks functional. But Peter Wright, we love him more because we sat here 12 months ago and talked about he's someone we should get.
Yep.
No one's ever going to believe that. That's fine. It's a conversation we had off
we'll never record
without a recording. So we loved him more anyway.
We just found it amazing that they actually got him, but we talked about him.
Before
it even was mentioned, we're like, Peter Wright would be handy. Like,
we might actually know something.
He was a high draft pick. Why isn't he getting games up at Gold Coast? He seems like someone that should be able to play. Like, what's wrong with him?
Yeah, exactly. Nothing wrong with him.
Yeah.
I will say too, Joe Danaher never kicked 7 goals for us. Joe Danaher's never kicked 7 goals in an AFL game.
Really?
Yep. His best was 6 once, I believe, and he's got a bunch of 5s.
6 would have been at the door.
Well, yeah. I mean, take your shots. Probably would have kicked 12. All right, we better move on. Peter Wright, if you're listening, I love you.
No. If you could have your babies.
I said that at least twice yesterday, and I've saw it on Facebook at least a couple of times as well. So I'm not the only one.
Fair enough.
A few others we should talk about. Francis was great, kicked the 2, didn't get beaten in the air. And I think that's the best thing you can say for a forward. If you're not marking the football, you're not getting beaten.
And also marks the ball up on the back half too. Like he got up the ground, up the ground and got involved. And that's really important for, the defenders respect out of the midfield because you've got to have that get out kick sometime and you just got to take the pressure off. And that's the role of a tall forward sometimes.
Yep. So I was very impressed with him, and like I said, him and Wright as a forward line seem to be working for now. So that still keeps Hooker out of the side. In terms of midfielders, I mean, Das had 9 clearances, Stringer 7. Quiet game for Stringer. Still had the 7 clearances.
Not really. Just
Didn't
stats
score.
wise, but everything he did was brilliant.
Yeah.
Like his
kicking, he hit a few targets inside 50, didn't he?
His kicking is elite because I think that's the forward in him because he knows where to put it. Like he's like, that's where I would want it right there.
Yeah.
Maybe Shield should spend a year up forward.
I'd kind of say that when he came back into the side, if I'm not. Zachy Merritt, 30 touches and 5 clearances. All very good. Hard to falter really any of them. Even I think Guelphy had 5 touches.
The ones I would be critical of.
Well, let's not get there yet.
Okay.
Guelph had 7 touches, kicked a goal, and he's being commented on a lot just on socials as he had a very good game. And he did.
Yeah, he did.
3 tackles, 7 touches and a goal. Nice little header down to himself. Kicked the goal. That was brilliant. Not that we saw a replay because we were too busy watching Shaki break his ankle.
I saw him running and chasing and hassling and pressuring and 1%ers. Is there a 1%er stat?
There is, but I don't like it because I don't really know what it means.
Okay. Fair enough. We won't use it then.
Yeah, we won't. Even Cutler was great again, 22 touches. Still has.
Cracks me up about Cutler. I noticed a lot. I don't know if you noticed though that he will put his arms up like he'll be on the opposite wing.
Yeah, he did that. Actually. He did it once when Wright was having a set shot, and I was like, no.
Everyone's having a set shot. He's like, kick it to me. Yep, I'm over here. I'm on the other wing. Kick it to me. I'm like, dude, they can't kick it 70.
No.
He does it all the time. Cracks me up.
He can kick 70. He just doesn't realise that the rest of them can't.
If he gets it on the foot right, but he can go 70 in about 30 the wrong way.
Another one I just want to mention because I was critical of him last week. Dylan Clark, 19 touches, 4 tackles, couple or 3 clearances as well. Looked at home. He had 1 absolute shank of a kick, but that's okay. Our premier midfield that we paid squillions for has a shit kick, so that's all right.
Oh, his kicking can be.
I thought he had a great game. Again, harassed, tackled. Sammy Durham was probably the most guilty of the broken tackles.
Yeah.
But again, he was there putting pressure on.
Yep.
Devon Smith kicked a
He's
goal.
going to be a really handy player.
Yeah, Dev kicked a goal, 15 touches, and a couple of tackles to go with that as well. We'll kind of transition, segue, if you will, into... I don't want to say negatives. It's hard to talk about negatives when you've beaten the top team of the line.
No, but I think you've got to still be honest about yourself and not think everything's rosy and beautiful because there's things that we can improve on.
I'm not sure about James Stewart still.
Yeah, I agree with that. He got away with a few pushes in the back, I felt. Could have been called or should have been called.
I did write down, I think, in the second quarter, he left his man, and the commentary said it was Laverde. It wasn't. It was Stewart. Left his man, Johannesson, I don't know how that happened, to come to the contest, which is fine, but you've got to then impact the contest. And I saw it happening, and in my head, I went, that ball can't go over the back. Sure enough, went over the back, straight to Johannesson, who kicked it to Treloar, who kicked the goal.
Yep.
Just stuff like that. It's one moment, sure, but he's prone to a bit of that still. And yes, you can say it's his first year in defence. It's Laverde's first year in defence, and to me, he's there every week. No questions asked at the minute.
Oh yeah, yep, go on.
Ridley was beaten by Norton. We were probably a little bit fortunate Norton didn't have his kicking boots on. Took a few really nice marks. And that's probably a little bit critical of the midfield, letting Bontempelli kick the ball without much pressure a couple of times.
Yep.
Or broken tackles or whatever you might be.
Yep.
The biggest negative we're both going to agree on here is what to do about McDonald, Tipperwoody. Because we've talked about him at least 3 weeks in a row now. It's been an issue 5 or 6 weeks.
He's not offering a lot at the moment. Again,
kicked a goal again yesterday, but
5 disposals, 1 goal, and the thing that we always look for is tackles, one tackle.
And he was not putting the pressure on. Like you can sit there and say, like, Guelphy had only the 3 tackles. That's not a high number, but he was there. I remember him chasing a lot.
He looked like he was
Whereas Waller just, again, if he's injured, fine, get him out of the side. I don't want to be talking about him being so bad if he's injured, but he's playing, so we have to assume he's fit.
Yeah.
Given the injuries we still have, I don't see how... Hey, there is a pressure act stat. Look at that.
Oh, there you go.
Will Snelling had a game high 37.
Wowzers.
God damn, Snell. Stringer 31, Devon Smith 28. There's a good one for Dev. Yep. Waller had 14.
How many below him?
Well, there's a lot. If we go right down to the bottom, Josh Shackey had 1, Ridley had 2, Francis 5, Stewart 5, Laverde 6, Shields 7, Draper 8. That's harsh. But what even is that stat, I guess, is the next question.
Well, it's the sort of thing we're looking at. Like if you're going to go with the stat, look at the stat. Look, I would agree with you that I think Tip and Woody at the moment is just looks off the boil. I don't know what it is, but they obviously are going to persist with him because of maybe they know what he can do. When things go right.
He just looks unfit, which is why I keep going back to the injury bit. But if he's not, and if he's just playing poorly, I don't care if we play some rando who has an absolutely awful game. We can't keep letting a guy play poorly in that side when we've dropped someone like Guelphy who offers a lot more in the past. Like, I love Waller. Everyone does.
Hard not to.
We can't just justify that every single week. If he has an off game and comes back the week after and kicks 5, 4, 3, whatever, no dramas. But it's now an extended run of poor form.
And it's not about the goals, though, for me. It's about the other things. It's the pressure acts, and those pressure acts result in goals.
Well, again, if he kicks 5, he can have 0 tackles. I'm okay with that.
But he's not doing one or the other at the moment. He's not tackling and or kicking goals. So
that's right.
It's been 3 weeks in a row. The other one too, I wanted to mention, probably more of a negative though, I've given a bit of a hard time to, and who I saw some stuff from that almost made me think he might be all right, was Dylan Clark. Again, we think that he might be playing he doesn't have a contract, am I right, next year?
Correct.
Could be playing for his career, I don't know. Like, if you don't have a contract, then I assume that that's a worrying sign for a young kid. He was good. He
was. I feel like I talked about him earlier.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I just wanted to mention him because he's someone that I have probably been pretty negative towards. And same. I thought, no, he was actually, I saw some stuff and I thought, well, if you can bring a bit more of that to the table.
Now I'm worried I said the wrong name. But yeah, I said the same thing. I was critical of him last week. Really critical of him last week. But he looked good. You're right. The only other one I'm not really sure where he's at the minute is Nick Hind.
That's who I was just about to mention. His last couple of games have been a bit ordinary.
And there's a couple of parts of me here, right? Because it is the whole Sard v Hind thing. So I don't really want to be too critical of Hind because up yours, Sard. But yes, we are the honest podcast. There's a tagline for your t-shirt. Yeah, he doesn't look as quick. He doesn't look as assured with the ball. He looks a bit panicky. And he's
lost the run
turned the ball
carry,
over a few times.
He's been told not to run and carry.
I doubt that very much, but
yeah, I know that. But it's just we haven't seen them. There was one where he tripped over the poor bugger. He's wound up the speed button, and the legs didn't respond very well, and he had to fell over and get handball it.
Get new tread. That ended up in a goal, though. To be fair.
Yeah, he's I'm not worried by it.
No, neither. This is what I talked about last week, though, and it was partially because Hind hasn't been brilliant for a few weeks. Maybe he could go as a small forward because he's so quick and harassing, and that gets Waller out of the side. But then we lost Heppel.
Yeah, but I would argue Marty Gleeson should stay on that side.
And Gleeson's no dramas.
He played a good game. Yep. Like I wouldn't.
The best thing you can say for a defender is I didn't realise him. I didn't notice him.
He played well.
He was fine.
Do we do our ins and outs this week, or we do?
Yeah, we do. We are at 39 minutes, so we probably need to rack it up. But
all right, well,
it's a big win. It's a big win, so forgive us. We'll do two things.
Yep.
We need to do the votes.
Oh yeah, that's pretty easy for me.
You're gonna say bloody.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna give 3 votes to bloody who deserves the 3 votes.
Well, you told me earlier that
I tell you a lot.
Another guy deserves it.
Come on, you go first.
2-litre Peter, split system, splitty 7-seater 3, absolutely. Yep. 2, I'll give it to Draper. He was critical in getting that ball out of the middle so often. 1 is always hard.
1 is the lowliest number that you ever used.
I'm going to give it to Parish over Merritt.
I thought you might have given it to Bontempelli, actually.
Yeah, he can have it. I'm going to give it to Das over Merritt because Das had a couple more clearances, managed to kick a goal. It was a lovely goal that he kicked as well. And that's no disrespect to Merritt. I just think...
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's your 3-2-1, mate.
Yep.
You don't have to apologise. It's not like they're standing in front of you and they're going to go, oh.
Well, they might be listening. Okay. Who are your 3? I think last week we did a combined 3, but whatever, you can do your own.
No, well, my 3 is Peter, 2 is Draper, and 1, I would nearly give it to Stringer because of the influence of what he
high
did.
Impact, yeah. That's fair.
I think Zach Merritt and Parrish were awesome, but I expect that from them.
Yeah, fair enough.
Whereas Stringer, I love what I see, what he does, what he's doing, and he's kicking, he's tackling. He's the only one I reckon could tackle them, even though he missed a couple.
Because he's a friggin' machine.
He's just the way he breaks away from traffic. Like, I love it. I love it.
Yep. Okay.
It
fair
brings
enough.
a whole new element. Just getting the ball and kicking it into that 25, 30 meter out. It's going to hurt any team.
Yep.
Anyway,
we'll have to refine our processes for next season, but for now we can do a 3-2-1 each. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Ins and outs. Perkins was unused, which suggests
hard to take an out.
There's no changes. We know Langford's not coming back. Heppel's not coming back. The only question marks will be around Caldwell and McGrath. I don't think they're coming in. If they do,
if they come in for the guys like Guelphy.
Well, not Guelph. You can't take Guelph out. You can't take Clark out on that game.
Who do you take?
Well, you can, but it's harsh because they weren't poor. It's just
have to be harsh.
That, especially McGrath is an upgrade, obviously. The only one, maybe Waterman, could be in and out of that side a bit because he's not.
I like what he does, to be honest.
Yeah, I do too, but
I like what he does more than what Guelphy does. If I was to say that.
Okay, fair enough. All right, I think we go no change unless it's forced.
No change, I don't think.
And
I don't think Heppel should come back, even if I reckon they should give him another week. I really do.
Well, I thought he was done for the year.
Oh well, I thought he had the same injuries he did last time, and he only missed a week last time. So
I thought him and Langford were both done for the year. Anyway,
I just think I feel hard.
Me too.
Being hard.
Peter Wright.
Well, Marty Gleeson is doing everything right. Like he's playing good games of football.
Yep.
They need to find a spot where he somehow gets more than one game just because your captain goes out.
Well, it's probably a longer conversation. I think maybe Redmond hasn't set the world alight either, and it's.
I would agree with that. Redmond could go out.
A bit unsure.
Redmond could go out. Gleeson could stay in, and Heppel could come back.
That's like I said. That's a whole other conversation. We're meant to be
let's wrap it up.
Really, just something to hang our hat on now at the end of the year. We've beaten top spot. If we do scrape now into the finals, we got a bit of confidence in their heads. They're going, well, we beat the Bulldogs, so why can't we beat Sydney?
Well,
why
if we
can't
scrape into the finals, we've beaten the Bulldogs, and we will have then beaten Gold Coast and Collingwood. Like we have to still win those.
We have to win those games. That's right. But
to get into the finals, so
it now changes the mindset.
We were competitive against Sydney, so they're going, well, it's 4 games of footy where we played decent.
It changes the mindset, which is good. All right. Gold Coast up next. Not sure where that's going to be played. It's meant to be at Metricon. It will depend on what happens during the week. Regional Vic coming out of lockdown tonight, which is good. So I don't think it'll be in Melbourne. I don't think it can be in Melbourne.
Maybe they'll come play at Wangaratta.
Maybe not. Perth or Adelaide, and I would hope for Adelaide because that's about a similar travel distance for us.
I reckon they'd have to play it. Is Gold Coast in Victoria still?
They played Carlton. Oh, can we just say, before we lose to them potentially, congratulations, Gold Coast. Thank you so much for beating Carlton.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Gold Coast.
That was brilliant. They played at Marvel, so they are.
I really wish we were at work. So there's a couple of Carlton supporters that would love to just walk past and say, "Hey, what's going on?"
There really is.
All right, let's wrap it up. We'll have a chat
Thursday night, and yeah, we'll see where we are.
Yep.
Anyway, huge win. Go Dons. Thank you, Peter. I love you long time.
Go Sammy. Not you, the other one.
Oh.
The better looking one.
Yeah, fair enough, honestly.
Go Shammy Draper!
Go Dons.